Michelle Prince, founder and CEO of Performance Publishing Group, making a difference one story at a time. We'll be shining the light on successful founders, entrepreneurs, business owners, and leaders that are getting results and making a difference. We'll talk about how they built their businesses, are creating movements, and leveraging the power of authority in their own lives. Be sure to stick around to the end of the show, and we'll reveal how you can be our next guest. Let's get started. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Power of Authority Spotlight, where we shine the light on incredible business owners, women, founders, men, people that are doing incredible things to build a business, but also to make an impact in this world. And our guest today is someone I have known for many, many years, and I cannot wait for you to meet her. But first, this episode is brought to you by Performance Publishing. Performance Publishing provides done-for-you publishing services. Have you ever thought about writing a book? I'm sure someone may have told you you should write a book. Well, everyone has a story, and when you get that story out of your head onto paper, you can really leverage it to build a brand, build your authority, but also help a lot of people. So to learn more, grab a free strategy call at performancepublishinggroup.com. That's performancepublishinggroup.com. All right, let me introduce you to my friend, Sherri Hilton. She is certain that strong moms create stronger daughters. She believes that sharing the wisdom and strength of women will result in stronger generations to come. She's a sales dynamo, influential networker, podcaster, author, coach, and single mom of two amazing girls who I have met, and they are amazing. With her podcast, Wisdom of Women, and her book, Strong Moms, Stronger Daughters, Sherri brings meaningful conversations and knowledge to light that will benefit all women, young and old. Sherri firmly believes in the power of women who challenge the status quo, conquering mountains, wearing flip-flops, or those fabulous high heels. I love it. Welcome to the show, Sherri.
Hello, Michelle. Thank you so much for having me.
I am so excited. You and I first met in, what year was that?
That was January of 2018.
18. Wow. Okay. And we were just talking about this before the show. You had attended one of our book-bound workshops in Captiva Island, Florida. And it's like that was yesterday. I remember meeting you when you walked in the door, and I think you and I hadn't really connected before then. I believe, if I'm right, you heard me on a podcast.
I did. It was so last minute. I'm a person that believes in when the time is right, the doors open.
Right.
And it happened, right? I was listening to a podcast one afternoon. I believe you were on a Zig Ziglar podcast.
The Ziglar Show.
I jotted down notes quickly about the conference, and I thought the conference literally was a week later, week and a half maybe. And I thought, well, if it's meant to be, it'll happen. And I made a phone call, and you guys were sold out. And you put me on a waiting list and took my information. And I get a phone call a couple days later, and it was someone had canceled, and they had a spot. And I thought, okay, I'll take it. And I went to my mom and I said, hey, am I crazy? I'm thinking about going to this conference. And she said, what's the conference for? And I said, well, it's about writing a book. And she said, go. I have the kids, go. She said, writing a book has been on your goal list since college. And I said, you know what? You're right. It has been. It's been on that list of big, audacious goals that scare you, that take a lot of time and effort, and maybe one day you'll get to them. And that's when that journey started, was bookbound in January of 2018.
That is so crazy. It does feel like yesterday. And I remember us even having a little conversation at your chair and all the things going on in your life at the time. And then you joined, we were doing a mastermind together with our friend Howard Partridge. Shout out to our friend Howard. And so we got to spend the whole year together, and really just the evolution. One thing I remember, though, from the very, very get-go, long before your book, long before everything you're doing, was this passion you had for, moms and daughters. So talk about that. Where does this all come from?
Yeah, so I am an only child. My mother is a very strong woman. very strong lady, very independent. And my father passed away early. He was 50 when he passed away. And me being an only child, my mother and I have always been very close, best friends. And when my dad passed away, it's just my mom and me left. And I ended up sticking around in Maryland where she lived. I had come back from Florida because I was living in Florida at the time. I came back and stuck around where she was, and she wouldn't move to Florida at the time. And so I had to stay in Maryland with her because I wasn't leaving. And I ended up getting married. I had two amazing daughters, Charlie and Danny, and ended up divorcing. So I'm a single mom with two little girls, very independent girls. And I look at life as if something were to happen to me, who would teach those lessons to my girls? Who would make sure that my girls knew certain things that I wanted to be able to teach them? And I think those thoughts just come from losing my dad at a very young age. And 2018, when I came to Bookbound, I had just lost my aunt Vicky. Very, I was very close to my aunt, she's my mother's sister, and she suddenly got diagnosed with brain cancer, April of 2017,
Mm.
and she passed away. And it's that feeling of you never know when your last day is.
Yep.
And it's not something you can prepare for. And sometimes you get a diagnosis that might wake you up, like, a breast cancer,
Mm.
or even other cancers that you fight for and you get through and you come out the other side and it changes you. And sometimes you're on the other side of it where you're a daughter to someone who passed away or a niece to someone that you care for, and it shakes your life up. And so those two instances really hit home for me and set a tone for I want to make sure that my girls know I love them beyond a shadow of a doubt, that I would do anything for them. They are my life. Um, but B, if something were to suddenly happen to me, what have I left them and taught them? Is there certain things that I'm confident they know and would carry on with them? And so that was the premise of the book. It originally started out with just I want to write it for my girls. And then I thought, well, doesn't everyone have a mother or B, a strong woman in their life? And there's lessons that you can teach others. And I feel it even in corporate America. In my career, there are women who've shattered ceilings and broken down barriers that you look at and you think, wow,
Yeah.
it can be done. And there's lessons that they've taught other women along the way to show what's possible and what it takes. And why can't we take some of those lessons and share them with the world? And the book started off as just, strong moms, stronger daughters with myself and my daughters and lessons to all women. And then it rolled into a podcast entitled Wisdom of Women. And that's, you know, wisdom of women and how you've pivoted in life
Mhm.
with your career, how you started that business and, shattered glass ceilings to tackle barriers, research some doctors have done, um, great diagnostic tools that are out for women that many may not know of. And social media and what we see is always the bright side of, how everything got done. And wow, they just did that overnight. But I can tell you,
Oh,
nothing happens overnight. And it's those challenges and hurdles that I think women can all learn from and implement some of the lessons to make our paths shorter and or less bumpy along the way so that we can get there as well.
yeah, and I love that, and women especially. I mean, you are definitely a strong woman, and from the moment I met you, I knew that, and I have met your girls. So I can't think of a better title, not just for your book, but kind of your brand is Strong Moms, Stronger Daughters, because that is the epitome of you and Charlie and Danny, which I love. But sharing that, because I think as women we need a community. We need to help each other. We need to help each other rise up. Rising tides raise all ships. It's not a competition. Women should, embrace each other, help each other, but especially moms and single moms. That's your story, and you have so much to share in that. So what is I know with the podcast, Wisdom of Women, all of that, and we talked a little bit about this even before the show, what are you hoping to do for these women? You mentioned community and, what is your vision for helping these women to become even stronger?
Yeah. So community is extremely important because as a single mom, a divorced single mom, you a lot of times feel very alone.
Yes.
I have some friends who are going through divorces who are moms, and you feel alone. There's a lot of times where you sit on your floor at night and you're thinking, how am I going to get it all done?
Mhm.
Or how am I going to make it all happen? And somehow it does. I've told one of my girlfriends, I said, you may not think you're capable. You
Mhm.
may not think XYZ is possible, but I can promise you when you work hard and you strive towards it, God shows up in big ways and opens doors that you never thought possible. But you have to first believe in yourself and believe in the possibilities of an amazing, wonderful life that lies ahead of you. And
Mhm.
if we don't take some of the hardships and the struggles and understand the lessons that come out of those to get us where we need to go, I think that's important. The community is important through my podcast, the branding of Strong Moms, Stronger Daughters. It's not just about me being strong, it's about me showing others they're capable and what's possible so that everyone feels that way. There is nothing more powerful than a confident mom who has her stuff together, walking out the house in the morning, dragging the kids and putting them in the car and going, I got this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not the first divorced single mom to do this. There's been others that have done it. And what can I learn from them to blaze a trail to show my kids
Yeah.
what mama's capable of?
Yeah. And it's so great because at the end of the day, everybody wants hope, right? We may not use those words, but no matter what you're going through, whether it's a divorce or maybe you're struggling in business or finances, whatever it is, it's almost like you're looking for somebody to say, "I've been there and I got through it, and guess what? You can too." And that's what hope is. And so that's exactly what you're doing. Doesn't mean the ride is all perfect. Doesn't mean that, got it all figured out as a mom. I mean, I know I'm a mom of two now adult children. And yeah, I'm still trying to figure it out. And they're
We
grown.
all are.
But that's the kind of beauty of it. So um I want to talk a little bit about what you've created in your girls. And Charlie is somebody that I've had an opportunity to get to know pretty well over the last couple of years. So give some examples of some things that maybe your daughters have seen you do that they're now doing.
Yeah. So Charlie, for example, I through COVID was hard for not just my daughters, but for most kids.
For sure.
There was nothing like kids being pulled out of school and sitting in a house with mom all day while mom's working in front of a computer. And I'm in the medical industry. I'm in medical sales. And so it was a very busy, busy time for me, very stressful, very busy. And I'm at home working in medical, and they're at home trying to school. And they didn't have interactions with friends. Sports were shut down. It was a very, I don't want to say lonely time because they were here with me, but there's only so much you can
Isolate.
handle of your mother,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
um, and so you had book bound. And I said, come on, you're going with me. And she's like, I don't want to go write a book. And I said, I don't care if you write a book. You're going to go and we're going to have a great time and you're going to learn a little bit.
Mhm.
And I said, worst case, you like to read. It'll be okay.
Mm.
You're going to spend 3 days with me. I'm taking you to Texas and you're going to have a little bit of fun. And I can remember walking in the room the first day. She was very nervous,
Mhm.
very quiet, sat down at the table, wasn't quite sure what to do, didn't want to speak to anybody, surely did not want to answer any questions. And I think it was the end of day one.
Mhm.
My back was to her because we were at different tables and someone had asked about answering a question and I heard the voice and I turned around and it's my daughter standing up with the mic in her hand answering a question. And I thought, what has happened in 24 hours? And that afternoon or the next day when we started mind mapping, she still has her mind map.
Oh.
And we went to dinner that night and she said, you know what? I think I can write a book. And I didn't think much of it. She was
Four, 13
11,
or 14
12.
or 12. She was young. I
She
mean,
was young. I think she was 12. She might have been 13,
I think she was
12 or
13.
13 at the time.
Yeah.
And she ended up writing poetry,
Mhm.
which she's really good at songs. But I guess that's all a song is a poem. Very good at music. And we left. She had her intro or her back cover written. So
Mhm.
she knew the gist of her book. And she had her themes of her poems and she had, one or two written. And I think she completed her poems before I finalized my book. And I started my book prior to her.
Yeah.
And so we published at the same time. And it's almost been a year that our books arrived. I think it came up on my memories the other day of my proofs showing up at the house.
Mhm.
And I thought, wow, like it feels like a long year, but yeah, our proof showed up just about it was last week. A year ago is when our proof showed up. Her poetry book and my book, and then I did a journal combo. So I have a book and a Strong Mom, Stronger Daughters journal that goes with it that's got morning and evening notes, and then weekly reflections where you reflect back on the week prior. You look ahead to the week you're coming up on to prepare. It has a place in the front for vision board and dreams and goal setting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful visually. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I highly recommend those listening get the book and the journal. And if not for yourself, because there may be men listening here too, but for the women in your life, because we all need that encouragement. So if you know a mom, you definitely want to buy this book. So and you can get that at Strong Moms or Strong Mom, Stronger
Mhm.
Daughters, single mom, daughters with an S. And I just have to say one more thing about Charlie, though. I'll never forget when she came. She was 13. I think she published at 14. Is that right?
I think so. Yeah, it came out last year. So she's 50. Yeah. So she would have been 14.
Yeah, she's a published author at 14. I've actually talked about Charlie so many times when people are, doubting themselves, like, I don't know if I have it in me to write a book. And I'm like, let me tell you something. You are in your the 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever. Trust me, and she was 14 years old. But what I loved about that weekend and with Charlie, and I think it was good, maybe you do sit in different places because sometimes like she found her voice. And I remember so many of the other participants at the conference in awe of her and like writing her all these sweet notes. And, I think she even drew some of the pictures that were in her book
Yeah.
at the event too. So and Charlie's pretty exceptional, but truly if a 14-year-old can do this, anyone can, but she truly has a special voice and a place in my heart too. She's a really special woman.
And it really
Young lady.
goes to show that we all have a story.
Yeah.
As a teen and at that period, she was going through struggles just like any teen girl does. You've got hormones, you've got teen struggles, you have bullying in school, you have self-image issues, especially with social media. There is so much. There's boys, there's a lot going on in a teen mind at that time. And the poetry, I think, was her creative way of expressing herself, because I read the poems and I thought, oh dear, do we need to get a therapist? Are you all right? And she said, Mom, those are just my thoughts. It's what I see. Some of it is what she's experienced, but it's what she sees. And she wanted a way for young adults to be able to relate, because that's what it is. It's a mental health type poetry. And it's shine light on mental fights.
Mhm.
And it's a great book. Right. And so you talk about, sometimes I think I'm teaching them.
Mhm.
I find out often later it's not a lot about what I've said, but it's about what I've done and how I show up
That's
in
exactly.
front of them, that they internalize and learn from more so than how I speak.
Yeah.
And so when they see me excel at work, I'm very hard on myself when it comes to my career, because I'm a single mom, and there are certain things I want to provide for not just me but for my kids, and things I want to do in my life. But it's important for me for them to see my wins.
Mhm.
They know Mama won P Club.
Mhm.
They know Mama was top in XYZ, or I sold X number of instruments, or I have relationships with physicians and I help doctors care for their patients. My daughter texted me the other day in school. They were learning about the respiratory system. And she
Mhm.
says, Mom, my teacher wanted to know, what exactly do because they can relate it. And I've never really sat down and talked to them about that,
Mhm.
but I've tried to show them.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it boils down to. And so when I have the book and I have the journal and the podcast, it's about community, and it's about showing women and girls
Girls.
what's possible because others have done it, and helping others get there, and celebrating women. Growing up, you know, 80s and 90s and corporate America, it's not always about celebrating the other women. There's a lot of people who look at you and think, well, how did she get there? Or, I don't want to say hatred, but not necessarily celebrating.
Yeah, exactly.
When there's a saying that when you have your own small business, you'd be surprised how many strangers would support you online, and not necessarily your close friends who have been by your side most of the time. And
Very.
it's true. It's sad, but it's true. And I'm learning as I get older. I wish I would have learned a long time ago, but I'm learning as I get older. When you create the right circle and the right community, you will always have those women in your circle that support you, because they're not insecure about what they're bringing to the table. Everyone is supporting each other and enjoying watching others grow, because they know when you grow, they're growing, and that path opens up for more women to get there.
Exactly. Well, I am so excited for you. I think you are blazing a trail, not just for women, but also for your girls. And so I want to thank you so much for being on the show. And again, get Sherri's book, her journal, but also Charlie's, I think, can also be found on strongmomstrongerdaughters.com, and check out her podcast, Women or Wisdom of Women. And thank you again for being here, Sherri.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Have a great day.
All right, everybody, that's it for the Power of Authority Spotlight. Who can you encourage today? What mom, whether they're single mom or married, that needs a little bit of encouragement? Go out there and find a way to do that. Grab Sherri's book, and we will see you next time on the Power of Authority Spotlight. Bye, everybody. Thanks so much for listening to the Power of Authority Spotlight. If you are a successful founder, entrepreneur, business owner, or leader that's getting results and making a difference, and you'd like to be on this program, please visit performancepublishinggroup.com/podcast to apply. That's performancepublishinggroup.com/podcast. Also, if you got something out of this interview, please share this episode. Just do a quick screenshot with your phone and text it to a friend, or post it on the socials. If you know someone that would be a great guest, tag them on social media to let them know about the show and include the hashtag, The Power of Authority Spotlight. I love seeing your posts and guest suggestions. We are regularly putting out new episodes and content, so make sure you don't miss any episodes by subscribing. Your thumbs up, ratings, and reviews go a long way to help promote the show and mean a lot to me and my team. Want to know more? Go to our websites, performancepublishinggroup.com or michelleprince.com, and follow me on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.